Yair wanted to fight in September, and there's no way we're going to wait till September. There's no way. We wanted to get at least 3 to 4 fights in this year.
The AllStar app, the #1 app in the business. UFC, Bellator, One Championship, PFL, and more. Get the app right now. Link in description. UFC 284, man, the super fight, an incredible fight, an incredible event for Australia. You've had a few days to decompress from everything that has happened. What are your thoughts on the fight?
Look, during the fight. Look, I mean, as a fan, you look at the fight one way. As a coach, you're a little bit, I guess, a bit more critical of your fighters, and you look at it a little bit different. And I I thought Alex, it was close, but I thought Alex had lost that second round. Once the fight had finished, we watched the fight back about 2 or 3 times, and I actually thought Alex then won, and not only myself, but everybody that was in the room, thought Alex had won that second round. So it was 2-2 because everyone kept saying to us, oh, Alex won that. But again, like I said, I'm very critical of your fighters' performances. I don't look at it like a fan, so sometimes I look at it different. I thought because when I looked at it, it wasn't. I thought he got knocked down, but he actually went the punch that he got caught. He got caught coming in, and it just took him off balance. So it wasn't really like the first round where he got that flash knockdown. It was more of he was coming in and he got hit and he stumbled backwards because he didn't even phase him. And as you see throughout the fight, when Alex cops a good punch, he always acknowledges, hey, you got me. He does the same thing in sparring. I guess it's a bad habit, but it's a habit. Hey, you got a good one on me, But he didn't even acknowledge it, He just went straight back in.
Yeah, there was a couple moments in the fight, I feel like, where either fighter got hit, but they kind of got caught off balance. Even Islam as well. I mean, of course, the fifth round, that was a pure knockdown. That was clear as day. But there was some other moments as well, right? If you watch the fight back.
Yeah. I mean, the first knockdown that Alex hit him, I think he rocked him. I think it was probably a minute and a half into the round, or probably even before that. Alex hit him with the right hand, and he went to one knee, and I thought, that got him worried. But I mean, Islam finished strong, by in that back and trying to get the finish in. Look, what surprised me was, and I think it's going to bring. Islam had this stigma about him as like the boogeyman. He's very super strong. All these things about him, and Alex, just debunked the whole lot, because I asked Alex in the third round. I said, "Is he strong?" And he went, "No, he's not strong, and he doesn't feel strong at all." And I went, "Well, take him down yourself, And that's when he tried to start doing his own takedowns against the fence and everything else, because our whole game plan going in, and I could see that he didn't feel as strong and anything, just because a lot of the positions I'm watching it all the time. He's in those positions, and a lot of the times we start in bad positions and try and get out of them, and I could see that a lot of the times he was just hanging on. He wasn't this super freakish, strongish guy that everybody made out to do. If anything, Alex is a really strong, super freakish, strong guy. If he gets hold of you, you know it. And most of the guys in the camp were all a lot bigger. They're all welterweights and bigger. Craig Jones is a heavyweight. And he's holding his own with these guys. Islam's not going to be. He's not going to be anything new or a threat to him when you got welterweights and above that are his main training partners.
Do you feel like that was like one of the main keys to having success against Islam that you guys did in camp, is to bring in those bigger guys and to bring in especially Craig Jones, you know what I mean? And of course you have Frank Hickman.
Yeah. Of course, those guys, Craig Jones's, jiu-jitsu and the way he reads and works things out, in a grappling sense is, probably one of the best guys in the world, and you know yourself, Frankie's wrestling's always on point. Frankie's got the not only is he, you know, an American, you know, wrestling our folk style, he's also been at Bang Tao. He gets to wrestle with all sorts of guys from all around the world, so he's always picking up new things and different things. So it makes his wrestling very unique. His grip, you know, and his regrips and his reshoots are, you know, probably some of the best in the game. You know, it's very hard to, you know, not give him props on what Frankie can do.
In the fight, Alex looked comfortable in a lot of positions throughout the fight. He didn't look like he was panicking. And, you know, past opponents, they didn't look comfortable. Was that something that was like happening throughout the whole camp? Like he was just comfortable in those spots?
Well, if you look at a lot of the times he got, you know, put in a worse position was because he was laughing and or showboating when he should have been practicing, you know. But I think a lot of that comes back to that the guys that he was with were a lot stronger and bigger than Islam. So, you know, when he gets to Islam, these other, you know, Islam felt like a little boy compared to the guys that he'd been grappling and been putting in these positions. So I don't think he panicked or anything. And a lot of the mindset throughout the whole camp was that, you know, we were starting in a lot of bad positions and a lot of the positions that Islam feels very comfortable in. And you could see it, there was no threat, you know, even when he had his back for that 3 minutes. Islam tried to get the submission in the first, say, 30 seconds, and he started getting tired, and then it was just a hanging on competition. You know, all he kept doing is if it was out in the center, Alex would have got out. It's just Alex couldn't get rid of that body lock while he was pinned against that wall, and Islam just fought tooth and nail to keep his head underneath Alex's, so Alex couldn't escape or turn on him. And I think it really took a toll on him, because when he came back, I actually made a point of watching him walk back to his corner, and I could see his legs were cooked, you know. And I said it to Alex, I went, man, he's cooked. His legs are cooked, because you know, as much as you practice and that, hanging on like that for that amount of time is going to take a toll on your body, you know, sometimes more than fighting off submissions. You know, just hold your legs are your biggest muscles in your body. And if you've got that squeeze for such a long time, anybody that's grappled for any length of time knows that your legs are going to be cooked. You find while it's all happening, it's just when you let go and the blood starts rushing to different parts of the body, that's when you're going to feel it, you know, because all the blood's going there, because they're the biggest muscles, you know.
Do you want an immediate rematch against Islam, or are you looking more towards the unification fight?
Look, that's not up to us, you know. You know, there's good things about the UFC and there's bad things, you know. If it was a boxing match, you might have a clause in your contract and that, but at the end of the day, the UFC, it's their show, their rules, and I can see it that they probably don't want to hold up, you know, two weight divisions on this. The positive thing is we've got an opponent in Yair, and you know he's a good opponent. He's a nice guy too. I had a good chat with him and Josh, both terrific guys, and you know I look forward to that next challenge. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. But yeah, we'll probably have to do that, and then hopefully later on in the year we get this this rematch with Islam. You know, I don't know whether Islam's going to defend his belt again. I know Ramadan's coming up, and it's very hard for those guys during that period to train. You know, so yeah, let's look and see. It's you know, there's a lot of things going on at the moment, so it's very hard to know what's going on here. Yeah, and it's still going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. The co-main event, you talked about Yair and Josh Emmett. What did you think about that fight? How it played out?
Look, I only watched a little bit of it because we were warming up, obviously, for that thing. I thought Josh would have Josh looked a bit flat. He's usually can take a bit of energy. I was surprised that he being more of a striker, finished with a triangle finish. But props up to him. Good on him. He's a true martial artist. He can do it all. Which any guy in that top 5 should be at that level. And he did disappoint. That he's predominantly a striker, but he can finish it on the ground the same as any of those guys. So an impressive win by him, and I look forward to the challenge.
What do you think of that matchup against Yair? I feel like he's different from anybody else that you have faced.
Yeah, he is. I think he's changed his style a lot to, when he first came onto the scene, he was, he's very dynamic, very fast. If you give him room, he can, he can really make it a hard day. I seen when he fought Max, he turned Max into a wrestler, which really surprised me how much his game had evolved, where he was prepared to stand there and bang. He's a tough man. And yeah, his game's evolved. I mean, I was there when he fought Frankie Edgar, and Frankie just put pressure and wrestled him, and he fell apart. And then he took a long time off, and he, props to him. He worked on his game. He came back, and he's a completely different fighter, and a worthy opponent, and a worthy interim champion, and again, Alex has come back. We got back Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Alex was training. He trained again this morning. That's a sort of he's a different animal. He is different. Most guys that have a couple of weeks off, he's back at the gym training. And I guess that separates him from a lot of the other fighters around. He wants to get better. He came off the horse and he's just got straight back onto it. And we'll start game planning and working out what we're going to do when that fight gets announced. I mean, look, the way it's looking, it's probably going to be. I better not say anything. I know the UFC gets upset if we call things out before they should. But a couple of months in, then we'll start working on that side of it.
So it's already being talked about then.
Yeah. Well, Alex wants to stay active. He wanted to fight in September, and there's no way we're going to wait till September. There's no way. We wanted to get at least 3 to 4 fights in this year. That was our goal. Late last year, we said, we're going to start early and try and get 3 to 4 fights in. If all goes well. Alex didn't get hurt at all. You know what I mean? Like I said, he's training already. So. For us, the sooner the better. Especially if we want to get these fights in. So we're probably looking at the middle of the year, and then hopefully at the end of the year we get another fight with either Islam or somebody else. Like I always say, these guys have only got this short window of opportunity to make as much money as they can, and you're stupid if you don't. If you just sit there on the sidelines and, they say lay on your laurels, you got to go out there and make that money. And you don't make. I mean, some guys do make a lot of money on the side, but as a champion, you're going to make your money when you fight, and you've only got so many years to do it. And I'm a big believer, you've got to go out there and take it while it's there. If you sit back and like some of these champions do and only fight once a year or whatever, I'm not a believer in, like Izzy, Alex, those guys, they put it on the line time in, time out, and they'll retire in a couple of years as champions and don't have to, no disrespect to those guys that are in their 40s and that, they have to keep fighting because that's the only way they can make money, These guys are going to make all their money while they're young, and then when they're old, they don't have to fight for themselves unless they want to, and some fighters do. They just love fighting that much that they continue on, and all props up to them. But I really feel for the guys that, didn't do the right thing with their money and blew it or took some wrong advice and have to keep fighting when they're in their later years. And, younger guys, they just fought it for the younger guys and they didn't fight what they were like in their peak,
For sure. There's some talks about a card or a pay-per-view happening later this year in either like Sydney or Melbourne. Is that somewhere that you guys are looking at as well?
Uh, Look, nothing's been said. Somebody said Brisbane to me. Someone said Adelaide.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all been thrown out. I know they want to come back. I mean, the crowd in WA was, oh man, it was electric. I normally, I'm not a very emotional or stress out type of person. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm not like that. I don't let anything get to me. But when Bruce Buffer was calling out, introducing Alex, I actually got goosebumps. It was just the way the crowd was. I could feel him on my back. That's how loud and how passionate they were. And yeah, it was probably one of the best crowds that I've ever been to. Well, I've been to a lot. Like I've said it before. The crowds in Brazil, the crowds in New Zealand, they were awesome, and in Australia, there's some of the most passionate crowds that you can get. I haven't been to an England crowd, so I can't comment on it. But what I've seen on TV, I think they're very much the same there in Paris. The crowds were pretty electric, but yeah, it was something pretty special being in that arena there. And I think just the way the arena is set up, it's a small arena, but it goes up high. And I think just the sound was, it was so intense. And yeah, Alex is walking out to the song, to his song, and the whole crowd was, singing the man down under. It was a special moment.
Yeah, definitely a special moment. It seems like Alex has reached another level of superstardom. Do you feel that? Does he feel that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, usually you're down, and usually when you lose, you don't your stocks go down. I mean, I think a lot of people that were there, a lot of people that witnessed it, and the messages I've been getting, yeah, and I think even Islam fans believe that Alex won that fight, or even if they don't, it was such a close fight, and no one gave Alex any sort of chance at all. A lot of the Islam fans and people in America and that just wrote Alex off. He was going to be too small. And, watching what Islam had done to all his other opponents, he just sort of walked through them, and here's Alex, the lighter weight guy, and, he's playing with him. He's laughing at him. He's taunting him, that's how threatened he was by Islam. And no disrespect to Islam, because Islam's, one tough cookie, his wrestling is no joke, and his striking was no joke. He's very unorthodox. I think, people are saying that about, did it surprise Alex? I guess maybe it did. He's just, like I always say, he's unorthodox, and when you've got something that's unorthodox, it's a lot harder to read than it's the normal things that people do, and that's how you get caught. Their timing's a little bit different, and the way they set things up is a little bit different. So it's hard to prepare for anything like that, because that's his own distinct style. The same as Alex has got his own distinct style, and that's what makes him so good. Alex's footwork is always a threat to anyone. But like I said, the times that Alex did get caught with silly things, he was showboating, and it's one of my pet hates is showboating. But I think to Alex, he used it to his advantage, and that's even though he got put in a worse position, it made fans and the general fans look at it and go, "Wow, look at this guy!" Everybody else, when they get taken to the ground by Islam, goes into a complete panic, and Alex is laughing at him. Alex is taunting him. When he had that back, he had it there for 3 minutes. He's supposed to be this great submission guy, which he is. But the guys that we had in there trying to submit him were a next level. Like people say that about like the Craig Joneses and Frankies and that. That's all they do. They're wrestlers and grapplers. Those guys are on point every day in that. As a mixed martial artist, you've got to have your striking and a lot of other things. So anybody that wrote like having Craig Jones is going to be nothing to what Islam can do, or whether it's Islam, Khabib, or anybody, they take Craig Jones on in a grappling match, he will eat them. He will play with them, you know, because that's what these guys are next level of grappling, you know. I've witnessed it and felt it myself, you know. They're not fun guys to grapple when they want to put it on you. I always say to everyone, I go, my grappling always improves when I stop grappling with Craig Jones. Yeah, because he's just, yeah. I won't get into too many embarrassing moments.
Yeah, well, he's an animal, man. He's an animal. There's one last thing, man, I wanted to ask you about is these allegations of the IV use. You know, Alex, he kind of alluded to it in his interview with Ariel Helwani, and then Eugene Behrman also did an interview with Ariel Helwani, and he said he heard some things. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the issue.
Look, it's unfair to sort of comment on things like that. Or actually, you can comment, but you can't accuse anybody, you know, without proof. I've seen a lot of things. A lot of tweets have been put up there and then taken down by the highest level guys. I'm not going to call them out, but guys that are there. What I've seen behind, I'm not going to again comment on it, but there's a lot of shady stuff going on there. All I'm going to say is where there's smoke, there's usually fire, and there's a lot of stuff out there. I think a lot of the guys have saved a lot of these tweets and messages and everything else, and hopefully, like with anything, it all comes out in the wash one day, or at least for the next shows and other shows into the future, they keep a better eye on this thing, because it'd be great for for everyone to be able to IV up and be good in 20 minutes. A lot of the reasons they don't do it because it's a masking agent. Whether they're masking, you're not saying he's taking performance. You know, it could be a diuretic. It could be a number of things that they're doing to help them through that. And the IV masks a lot of that stuff. But again, it's I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything, but I think they've got to monitor that a lot better in the future. I mean, USADA was there at the beginning and it was there at the end. I don't know what they're checking, but what I've seen in the background has not made me happy. I just hope, for the integrity of the sport, the field should be the same for everyone. You can't be, one set of rules for one and not for the other. I was with Dan in the end, like that day that he tweeted, and he said the same thing as me. He goes, "I'd love to take an IV, when I do my weight cut." He has big weight cuts. He's a big man, and he said, "I'd love to be good in 20 minutes after I take it." But again, those things are there for a reason, because they can use them as a masking agent, and that's why they don't have them on. And there's a 2-year suspension. Again, I don't want to accuse anybody. I just hope that in the future that these guys have a think about it and things are checked a lot more, so it is a level playing field for everyone. If not, open the gates and let everybody do it, which I think is totally wrong. But yeah, people need to be made more accountable. And what I said earlier, eventually it'll come out. Everything comes out in the wash, and let's see what happens when the wash comes out.
Do you know if the UFC or USADA is investigating these allegations?
Look, they have to do something, it's out there in the public. Like I said, I don't really want to comment or anything, because I'm only getting things secondhand, and it's hard for me to comment on things when you're getting it off another person. So I haven't had those dealings. If I'd had those dealings with it, I could give you what to think, but I'm not happy with what I'm hearing, and the way these guys are handling it. They're trying to brush it underneath the table, which is wrong. I don't know why. I think, if anything, they should be, making a stronger stance than what they are. And again, I don't want that fallback of it, where, Paul Acosta was getting woken up at 6 o'clock for 6 days straight or 7 days straight to get a blood test because he made some accusations against them, So I don't want to be treated unfair by those guys, because at the end of the day, they've got the power. But again, everybody should be treated the same. You can't one set of rules for one and not for the other. And if it doesn't happen now, I just think for the future it needs to change. Where everybody's made more accountable. None of these things are going on. Like, a lot of people don't believe that they got an IV. They definitely got an IV. I think they're trying to palm it off to one of their teammates, and I think he's put his hand up for it. Whether Islam took it, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't accuse the guy of it, because maybe he didn't. Maybe it was his teammate. But like I said, there's smoke there. There is definitely some smoke there. People have said one thing, and then the next day they've come back and said something completely different. Again, it's a really, really messy situation. Like I said, hopefully it comes out, but if not, hopefully for the future we stop all this BS, and the sport, gets some integrity and keeps on the straight. Because I always thought USADA coming in, it was just going to change the whole level of the sport, because there was a hell of a lot more drug abuse and cheating and everything going on until they came on, and power to them that they've done that. But that these guys need to step it up now and do a lot more of these IV checks and make sure. I don't know whether I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert on it, but I don't know whether they can check whether these guys have had IVs or anything, But people need to be made more accountable, especially for the future. If not now, for the future. Because I'd love to have, Islam fight Alex again, but on a level playing field, And again, we were, I guess, like Dan put it, you can't expect to come to our country and not expect it to get back to us that you went out and tried to get IVs, because that is, they did get IVs. That is, they can't deny that. Who took it, how they took it, what they put in it, who knows? But we know that for a fact. We've got that evidence. And a lot of guys are writing this and that on social media, saying it's all false, bad, we're bad losers or anything. I'm telling you, I'm probably one of the most honest people out there. I always say it how it is. And that part I know is for sure, People have backflipped on a lot of things, but there's a smoking gun out there, Who it shot? I can't accuse anybody, because I can't accuse anybody of anything because I wasn't there. I don't know for sure, but there is a smoking gun.